Tonight, the final debate before you vote. We are checking the facts, the promises, and the spin.
On le comprend, monsieur.
Monsieur Scheer, 30 secondes.
As six leaders take the stage, Rosie and At Issue break it down. Turkey pounds northern Syria, what it could mean for ISIS.
We swear at the snow, but it doesn't help anything.
A damp and damaged harvest, an anxious time for prairie farmers. And CBC News investigates how reliable is your credit score. We put companies to the test, and the numbers just do not add up. This is The National. What a beautiful shot right there at the Canadian Museum of History in Gatineau, Quebec. Just days after an English debate shook the federal election campaign, tonight, six leaders clashed again one final time. It is 11 days until decision time for Canadians. Tonight's debate was in French, a final showcase for voters before advance polls open tomorrow. And Rosie, you are in Gatineau right now, right outside the debate venue.
Yeah, that's right, Adrienne. The six leaders, a national platform, and the stakes were pretty clear here again tonight. Tonight was a big opportunity or a big risk, depending on how you look at things. They walked in knowing there's certainly some momentum up for grabs. Monday's debate seemed to give the NDP's Jagmeet Singh a little bounce. And in last week's French language debate, the consensus seemed to be that Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet fared well, while Conservative leader Andrew Scheer did not. That has been reflected in Quebec public opinion polls since then. So tonight, like many of these nights, mattered. Katie Simpson's been covering the campaign from the beginning, and she has the highlights of tonight's debate.
The polite smiles faded quickly as candidates wasted little time jumping into attack mode, taking aim at the man no one had really taken seriously until now.
Now that the Bloc Québécois wants to come back on the scene and bring Quebecers back into opposition, well, Quebecers need to think about this.
An unexpected surge in support for the Bloc Québécois clearly had everyone else on stage worried. If Yves-François Blanchet can keep that momentum going, there's little to no chance any other party could form a majority government. Stakes are highest for Andrew Scheer after a difficult outing in the previous French debate. The Conservative leader didn't want to waste his second chance in his second language.
Mr. Blanchet's priority is to try and stir up sovereignism once again. He will work with the Parti Québécois the second the elections are over.
Blanchet fended off the attacks, dismissing claims a vote for the Bloc is a strategic nightmare.
Voting for the Bloc is voting for Quebec. We will sit in the House of Commons. It's a democracy.
While united against the Bloc, the two frontrunners by no means had kind words for one another. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau and Scheer sparred over the economy, energy, and the environment.
And we need to stand up to Conservatives like Jason Kenney and Doug Ford and the oil barons who are supporting them to continue to fight against climate change.
Contrary to what Mr. Trudeau claims on this file, his plan is a failure.
And once again, the NDP leader tried to be the voice of reason.
This is Mr. Pipeline, and this is Mr. Pipeline 2, and Mr. Trudeau, I'm not so sure. But I'm Jagmeet Singh. I will never force a pipeline on Quebec. That is clear.
Most leaders will now travel across the country to shore up support in an all-out sprint to the finish. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, Evan Dyer was also watching the debate for those moments when the truth might have been stretched a little bit to try and fit the message, and he was ready with the fact check.
But as you know, Canada's global carbon emissions only amount to 2%.
But we have to recognize the fact that Canada emits only 1.6% of global emissions.
It's Scheer's number, 1.6%, that's closer to the truth. But both numbers are used to suggest that there's little point in Canada tackling climate change seriously until other nations that are worse global citizens do their part. Andrew Scheer's often mentioned China and India. What's left out is that Canadians are only 0.5% of the world's population. Per capita, we're among the heaviest emitters on the planet. Canadians emit more than twice the volume of greenhouse gases as people in China and 9 times as much as Indians. And Canada as a whole emits more than some of the world's richest nations, more than Britain, France, or Italy, all of which have much larger populations.
We're going to put a tax on the ultra-wealthy. This will give us access to $70 billion.
Jagmeet Singh says there's a vast amount of revenue that government could go after by imposing a 1% wealth tax on people with assets over $20 million. The parliamentary budget officer looked at that claim and found it credible. After administration costs, the PBO says the tax could collect $68 billion. But the PBO says his estimate comes with high uncertainty. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Salima Shifty has been watching the debate here at the museum with me in Gatineau. Okay, Salima, we saw the format change, certainly a little bit, and that may have had an advantage for some people. Do you think it changed anything for this election?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You know, we don't like to talk about winners or losers whenever there's a debate, but I have to say in this case, the voters have to be the winners here because of that format change. The debate was much more clear, much more focused on policy, a lot more substance there, a lot more time for the leaders to actually talk about their policies, and fewer attacks. But I have to say, there were fewer attacks, but the one notable moment of cacophony and chaos was actually when Conservative leader Andrew Scheer went after the Bloc Québécois Yves-François Blanchet, and that really showed that the focus was on the Bloc Québécois because of that momentum in Quebec and that shifting ground with voters there. So that was important. Justin Trudeau, I have to say, also tried to move things towards the Bloc, and the Liberal leader, I do say, felt more fiery in his attacks. I don't know if you agree, but he felt like he was more ready with this debate and more comfortable, obviously, with the language. He was able to attack the Bloc a couple of times, both on climate change as well as on saying, you know, the Bloc Québécois is trying to take that place and try to hold the balance of power and try to make the case that Quebecers and especially Francophone voters should vote for the Liberal Party. Andrew Scheer also focused some time on the Bloc Québécois, but there were also, divergent focuses as well. Justin Trudeau also spent time talking again about Doug Ford, Jason Kenney, and his position that this is a choice between himself and the Conservatives.
Okay, so that's some of the main players, if you will. How did some of the other people factor into the debate tonight? Quickly.
Jagmeet Singh was able to land a few zingers. He felt quite natural, the same as he did in the English debate. So, but he was able to. I mean, the French language does hamper him a bit as well as Elizabeth May. I have to say, a lot of times she was not very comprehensible in her second language. I mean, she did try to rise above it and say, stop bickering, but difficult to understand a little bit. And Maxime Bernier, surprisingly, I think, did not capitalize on his French. He didn't take as much space in the debate as perhaps the other frontrunners.
Okay, we'll see if it changes anything indeed. Thanks, Salima. Appreciate it. That's Salima Shifji here with me at the museum. You will hear At Issue's take on the debate in about 15 minutes' time. For now, back to you in Toronto, Adrian, with the rest of the day's news.
All right, Rosie. A wave of chaos is sweeping northern Syria tonight as Turkish forces push into the country. It's just days after Donald Trump moved U.S. troops, abandoning Kurdish fighters who helped defeat ISIS. Margaret Evans is in northern Iraq tonight.
The sights and sounds of the Syrian conflict cracking open yet again. Turkey's offensive on the Kurdish-controlled towns hugging Syria's northern border is now in its second day and setting in motion a wave of human flight. Aid agencies warn tens of thousands of people are trying to keep ahead of the fighting and on the move, some not fast enough. This was the scene at a hospital in Kamishli, an 11-year-old boy, apparently one of those killed in the offensive. Alarm bells are sounding in diplomatic corridors.
I don't believe in military solutions. I always strongly believed in political solutions.
But political solutions have been sadly lacking during 8 years of war in Syria, and today was no exception. The UN Security Council failed to agree on a motion at an emergency meeting called by European countries, including Germany.
We call upon Turkey to cease the unilateral military action, as we do not believe it will address Turkey's underlying security concerns.
The Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, answered that with a defiant threat.
Hey Avrupa Birliği.
Hey European Union, he's saying, pull yourself together. If you try to label this operation as an invasion, it's very simple. We will open the gates and send 3.6 million refugees your way. Turkey is calling its offensive Operation Peace Spring, saying it wants to set up a safe zone for Syrian refugees to return to. But Ankara fears a strong enclave along its southern flank run by Kurdish militias it links to Kurdish separatists inside Turkey. The same Kurdish militias that have helped defeat the Islamic State these past years, now left to defend themselves by themselves. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Erbil, northern Iraq.
So you heard Margaret there talk about ISIS. The fear that those fighters will now regroup is very real, in part because of how many there are and where they are, under the guard of Kurdish forces who may end up abandoning their posts to go fight against the Turkish offensive. The stretch Turkey is targeting looks like this: a 100-kilometer swath of northeastern Syria, some 30 kilometers deep. The Kurdish forces estimate they hold 12,000 ISIS fighters in facilities in northeastern Syria. 2 of those are within Turkey's target areas. Other camps aren't far away and also house tens of thousands of family members of ISIS fighters. And there are Canadians amongst those ISIS ranks: 8 men, 10 women, 22 children of ISIS fighters, and dozens more are still unaccounted for. Canada has been urged to take its citizens back and hasn't. Their fate now is really unclear. Now to another international conflict, one that speaks to China's clout in global commerce. When it comes to politics, companies seem to be buckling under pressure from Beijing to toe a certain line or just stay silent. Thomas Degla has the latest example.
For Apple, China isn't just a big buyer where the tech giant sells billions worth of iPhones, laptops, and gadgets. It's also where many of Apple's products are made, with Chinese labor central to its supply chain. So when Apple gets on Beijing's bad side, things get awkward, fast. Consider those months-long demonstrations, with activists in Hong Kong demanding greater freedom and democracy. Faced with aggressive tactics from police,
you have to use yours.
The demonstrators have taken to using an iPhone app with crowdsourced data showing where officers are stationed.
They would try to avoid that route. So it's more to secure themselves from police brutality.
Except the Chinese government sees the mapping app much differently, with the foreign ministry spokesman saying it's reasonable to oppose what he calls violent criminal acts rather than to support them. So Apple banned the software, claiming in a statement, the app has been used to target and ambush police, threaten public safety, and criminals have used it to victimize residents. Just the latest U.S. company to backtrack and avoid criticism of China. The NBA's Lakers and Nets still played in Shanghai amid controversy, but the league's players wouldn't talk about the conflict with Beijing.
Excuse me, we'll take the basketball questions only. It's a legitimate question. This is an event that's happened this week during the NBA.
Critics see it as more examples of bending to China's demands. Awkward, indeed. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
In this country, China's ban of Canadian pork and canola had already made it a challenging year for some farmers, but now there is added pressure from an unusually cold and soggy fall. And as Bonnie Allen tells us, it's having an impact beyond the bottom line.
And half of this is pushed down on the ground.
Stan Jeeves' wheat crop is buried under snow.
And look at how those ones that are in the snow, how black they are.
It's absorbed so much moisture from rain and snow that it has developed mildew. This wheat is no longer any good for human consumption. Jeeves will be lucky if he can even sell it as feed for cattle or pigs.
You know, you're standing around, what do? You walk around your yard and swear at the snow, but it doesn't help anything.
The ground is so saturated, he still has to harvest 3/4 of his crop.
This is the second snow we've endured, as well as probably about 8 inches of rain since the 1st of August. So we've got only 25% of our crop off, and all of it is tough or damp.
Across Saskatchewan, harvest is just over halfway done. Normally, it would be 82% finished at this point. Getting the crop off is one challenge, selling it is another.
The quality has just kept going down and down and down. It can definitely impact the bottom line relatively significantly this year.
That's just one strain. Farmers are calling the 24-hour stress line more frequently this year to get crisis counseling. It started in the spring when drought-like conditions delayed seeding and market uncertainty from trade disputes such as the one with China drove down prices. And now this. It's all been taking its toll on some farmers. Mental health groups are urging them to seek help.
They're not eating properly, they're out of their normal routine, they're having difficulty sleeping, they're more short-tempered.
I really feel for maybe the younger farmers that haven't had as many years, so haven't had the chance to build equity.
Stan Jeeves has been farming for 46 years, and he's had tough ones before, but he's never seen a harvest quite like this. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, near Wolseley, Saskatchewan.
More news still ahead on the National. CBC News investigates illegal and dangerous rooming houses. One Winnipeg councillor's mission to shut them down. Plus, a third straight day of commuter chaos on Ottawa's brand new LRT system. We will take you trackside.
And they said death threats forced them to close, but now the owners of a Syrian restaurant in Toronto say they've found a way to reopen. We've got the update, and we're back in 2 minutes.
This week, the National is investigating illegal rental units. Rooming houses fly under the regulatory radar, often in serious violation of safety codes. Over the past 6 years, across the country, hundreds of fires have claimed dozens of lives. Katie Nicholson looks at one Winnipeg councillor on a crusade to prevent tragedy from striking her city again.
Educate the residents, educate the students, educate the landlords.
Janice Lukes is on a mission, and it's a job to keep up with her.
I'm really concerned about the student safety, which is, I don't want anyone dying when I'm the counselor. So this is an interesting one.
Luke's South Winnipeg ward has a big problem with illegal rooming houses, something she's determined to change. Part of the problem, the University of Manitoba sits squarely in her community, and its burgeoning international student population is desperate for housing. Last time she knocked on this door, Luke says 7 students were jammed into this small bungalow.
That was the bathroom down there, the window. And there was one bathroom upstairs, but there were suites downstairs. There were 2 suites downstairs.
Since taking office, Luke's forced city departments to share fire and complaint data and formed a residents group to keep a watchful eye.
Do you think that this one here is still, there were those two, do you think those 2 are still rooming houses?
The one at the corner?
Yeah.
Well, there's somebody that lives in the yeah, I would say, yes.
This one here is a rooming house. It's like whack-a-mole. You shut it down, they go somewhere else, and another one pops up. I just want to take a peek here.
And when all else fails, Luke's is ready to rat out landlords who often want rent in cash.
We've been encouraging people, if they see a lot of rental activity going on, maybe just call the Canadian Revenue Agency. Let them deal with it.
Hi, how are you? Are you a student?
Yeah.
Right on.
As she's been shutting down unsafe homes, Luke's has been approving new ones. 1,000 units in 4 years, like this building. Affordable and specially designed for students.
Does he like cash or does he like check?
Like online payment.
Oh, online payment. Oh, that's easy. That's good. Look at it.
Despite everything she's done to put an end to unsafe housing, that game of whack-a-mole never seems to end. Just months ago, the city shut this rooming house down.
Yeah, there are like 7 rooms there.
7. Yeah. A bylaw inspector came out and couldn't get in, and then the fire inspector came out. The fire inspector came out, got in, and counted 15 mattresses. Here we are today, talking to a student, and there's 7 students living in there. So, like I said, it's a game of whack-a-mole. I went through it when the...
And with the stakes so high, this isn't a game she's going to walk away from until everyone is safe. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, let's get to Ian in our Vancouver National Newsroom, he is watching some developing stories for us now.
And Adrian, we're going to begin in Hamilton, Ontario, where officials have approved an independent review of the police response to violence at a Pride celebration. This review comes after several people were injured back in June. A group of protesters bearing large anti-LGBTQ signs clashed with Pride supporters. Some say officers took too long to respond. Hamilton's Police Services Board voted to approve as much as $500,000 to hire lawyers to investigate. The Toronto restaurant, which was the target of death threats and hate messages, says it's going to reopen its doors after shutting down.
Aftermath and public reaction to our decision was beyond what we imagined.
The threat stemmed from the owner's son participating in a protest at a Maxime Bernier rally. The family says they've received thousands of messages of support over the past 2 days, and another restaurant owner has stepped up to help with running things. The president of Ukraine was speaking today about whether he felt he was blackmailed by the U.S. That's one of the international stories we'll have for you in about 20 minutes.
And next on The National, back to the nation's capital and neighboring Gatineau, where the party leaders once again squared off tonight. And perfect timing, it is Thursday, so Rosie and At Issue are here to break it all down for you.
Welcome back here to the Museum of History in Gatineau, just across the river from Parliament Hill. All 6 leaders faced off here tonight for the final debate, a chance for them to make their impressions to Canadians, to Quebecers, to French-speaking Canadians as the campaign heads now into its final days. So, good time for At Issue. Chantal Hébert is in Montreal tonight, Andrew Coyne is in Toronto, and Althea Raj is here in Gatineau with me. Okay, I want to start just by playing a little clip pack we put together of some moments that I thought spoke to a lot of what happened in the debate, in case people missed it. So take a listen to this.
So in other words, voting for the Bloc is voting for the Liberals, voting for the Bloc is voting for the Conservatives, voting for the Bloc is voting for Quebec. We will sit in the House of Commons. It's a democracy.
Mr. Blanchet said voting for the Bloc is voting for Quebec, and that bugs me a little bit because, yes, you're the Bloc, but Quebec has a diversity of opinions, a diversity of regions, a diversity of voices, so you have no monopoly over Quebec. Not at all. You have no monopoly.
I was going to say the same thing because I am a proud Quebecer and I'm Federalist and I'm a proud Canadian, and what we saw in 2015 was that Quebecers chose to be part of a government, and that's what brought an end to 10 years of Mr. Harper.
Okay, so I obviously picked those clips because they speak to, I think, a full frontal attack, as much as they could anyway, on the Bloc leader. Chantal, what did you make of that or the debate overall?
I understand that it would have been the hope of the other leaders that this would be the segment of the debate that would most stay with Quebec voters, because the Bloc has been going up at all of their expenses. I suspect that it will not be, because the debate over what the Bloc is about, whether it's relevant or not after 25 years, is not really on anyone's radar, nor is the fear that the Bloc will suddenly resuscitate sovereignty for most Federalists in this province. But, and I don't, at the end, I think it mattered more for Andrew Scheer that he manages to make a dent in Mr. Blanchet's armor, and I don't think that he totally succeeded. So I'm not convinced that the Bloc will come out tonight stronger, but I don't think that it will be brought down.
Andrew, do you think that they managed to maybe stop the bleeding at any rate in Quebec?
Yeah, that's the way I would put it, is they did not put do much damage to Blanchet, but they did, I think, both Trudeau and Scheer did well enough, I think, to stop the erosion in their own support. But what was most interesting, of course, about this debate was for voters who were maybe tuning in for the first time, hadn't been paying close attention to the election, this is a debate that actually helped them understand what the leaders stood for, what made them tick, what were their priorities, what were their values. The format, the questions, even the moderation, the thing was just really, really well done. This is what a debate should look like, and we need to learn from this example.
I'll try not to cry myself to sleep tonight as you say that. But I I agree
talking
with
about
you.
the rules
I think
and
it
the
was
format, you know.
Yeah, I know. I think it was substantive and interesting, and it was a good contrast of everyone. I'm sure Althea would agree too.
Yeah, it was nice to have the 3-on-3 rather than have like the free-for-all of all 6 trying to fight for time. And you got a much better sense of people's policy differences, the nuances. We had fewer sound bites. So yeah, all around, I think the format was a lot better this evening. I would be interested to know how many Anglophones actually paid attention, because suffering through translation oftentimes is not very easy. That being said, I thought that Maxime Bernier did really well compared to Monday evening. Obviously, he is more comfortable in this language, but you know, he's offside with the other leaders on so many issues, and yet he was, I thought, pretty clearly and convincingly put. I mean, even some of those kind of more out there proposal, like studying the impact of the sun on climate change. But aside from that one, maybe he did a very good compare and contrast, and if anything, maybe he succeeded in securing his own seat in the vote.
He did do a good compare and contrast, but I didn't hear anything out of his mouth that I thought would be attractive to Quebecers. Maybe I'm crazy, but there.
No, that's a fair.
Go ahead, Andrew.
That's a fair statement. But what you did see was what might have been if he had not marginalized his party by pandering to extremists on immigration and on climate science. When the issues were on economic and fiscal conservatism and these kinds of issues, it was refreshing to see somebody up there, when all the other party leaders were saying, let's just spend tens of billions more, to hear somebody saying, well, we can't afford it. So it's too late for him, I think. I don't think he's going to be able to make more than a marginal dent on this impact on this election. But hopefully he'll learn from that experience.
But even a marginal dent in the case of what is happening to the Conservatives, or has been happening since the TVA debate, is too much of a dent, because Mr. Bernier is fishing in Conservative waters. So if you don't like the Bloc, but you're not thrilled by Andrew Scheer, then you have yet one more option to turn to. I thought Justin Trudeau was more present, seemed more alive in this debate than he did on Monday. And he was more engaged. But I do think the Bernier example is a good reference for viewers who are not francophone, that they can measure the difference it makes when you're arguing in your first language. Bernier was almost absent on Monday, in large part because his English isn't really good. And tonight, Elizabeth May suffered from that in the reverse.
Yeah, she did. And Jagmeet Singh, I know, he got a little, I don't know if it was I don't think we've seen shift in the polls or anything, but he at least got some added attention after Monday's debate. He had a couple of zingers, I guess, that he managed to land, but I'm not sure it was much more than that.
It wasn't his best debate.
No, I think he was stronger on Monday. Maybe again because he's debating in his second language. He managed to make the point of the Liberals campaigning on the left and then governing on the right. Although I think probably most progressive would not think that Justin Trudeau, and people certainly on the right do not think Justin Trudeau has been governing on the right. I thought the Liberal leader's response to the secularism point was very interesting this evening, in the sense that he compared it to the battle for language rights outside of Quebec, to abortion rights and a woman's right to choose, which he has not said previously. It's very interesting to dissect, where the nuances are different in French and English. Andrew Scheer did not say that he was going to appeal medically assisted dying. He just said he was going to review it. He had said the opposite in the TVA debate. I wonder if these are calculated decisions, or if they're just, I missed an opportunity, or time went by and I didn't really know what I was saying.
I will say that assisted suicide question from the woman who was suffering and wanted some answers was
very
a
poignant.
deeply moving and very human moment for all of them, where they had to answer someone, to her face. I thought that was quite an incredible debate moment. Did this one change anything? I know I asked you that on Monday. No one seemed to think that it did. Does this one have the potential to change anything, Andrew?
I don't see much movement coming out of this, but we don't know. For voters, again, who are looking for more information about what the candidates stand for, those voters may find this extremely helpful, and some of them may change their mind on it, but I can't see it in any predictable way.
No. Chantal?
I agree with Andrew. I thought the main trends were pretty much baked in before this debate, and I didn't think that Andrew Scheer or Jagmeet Singh could alter the course of where their parties are going in this province, at least on October 21st. But if there were voters who were still wavering, wondering if Justin Trudeau that they'd voted for was still someone they wanted to vote for, maybe on that border, it may have made a difference, but I don't think it upset the dynamics that we've observed here.
What do you think, Althea?
I think Justin Trudeau probably did what he needed to do in this debate more than in others, in that he made Quebecers feel comfortable voting Liberal and gave them more meat around the bones, even like on immigration and rocks and roads. I think it'll be interesting to see if Maxime Bernier gets a bump in Quebec, because I think some people might feel not comfortable voting for Andrew Scheer or Blanchette, but now they have this refreshing new voice that probably was not on their agenda before. But I don't think that on the left, there was any reason in this debate for votes to move.
I only have like 90 seconds, but because I'm not going to see you, well, who knows? I call you all the time, and these bat signals go out at any moment of the day. But assuming I don't see you till next Thursday, do we think that we know the outcome at this stage? I'm not going to ask you what the outcome is, but do you feel like you know how this is going to end without saying what the ending is, Chantal?
Well, without saying what the ending is, it's getting very late in the game for Mr. Scheer to kind of win over BC, Ontario, and Quebec. And he needs to do better than what we're seeing if he has to still have a shot at government.
Andrew?
Yes, I think time is running out both for Andrew Scheer and for Justin Trudeau. That it is, with the increased support for the NDP, the increased support for the Bloc, it looks harder for the Liberals to get a majority, and it's certainly looking harder for Andrew Scheer to have any hope of forming a government. He would need a majority, frankly, but even a minority at this stage, because there just isn't an issue, it seems like, for him to really get the traction in Ontario, which is where he only really has the hope of moving.
Althea, and you don't have to say what the outcome is, even these two sort of hinted at things.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah. Because the way you look at the vote splits in 2015 in Quebec, for example, four-way splits, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure either, but the next week will be interesting. Okay, I'll try not to call before next Thursday, but please stay by the phone. Thank you all. Appreciate it very much. That is, of course, the last ad issue before election night. Maybe. We'll see. The almost last. We have one more to go. Before we go, be sure to subscribe to Ad Issue the podcast. Look for it on iTunes, any major podcast app, our website, cbcnews.ca/thenational. While you're there, you can check out the other podcast I do, Party Lines. I co-host that one with Elamine Abdul Mahmoud. Today we played Rihanna. There's a new episode out this morning. Take a listen.
And next on The National, CBC News investigates. David Common has the story of a special immigration program lauded for saving lives that some people may have taken advantage of. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to a story now that may concern a lot of Canadians. CBC News has learned of a federal investigation into a temporary immigration program designed to help a very specific group of people. But as David Common explains, not all who arrived seem to fit the criteria.
When Vo Van Dung landed in Toronto, his arrival was celebrated as his rescue, part of a group of marginalized people forgotten in the shadow of history. Following the Vietnam War, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese fled, fearing persecution. Many ended up with a new life in Canada, but others weren't so lucky. Landing in Thailand, stateless, unable to legally work, always in danger of arrest.
Welcome to Canada. Yeah.
Until a few years ago, after an appeal by US-based advocacy group Voice, Canada opened its door once again to more than 100 people. Then Immigration Minister Jason Kenney even there to greet them.
I welcome you to this beautiful country.
Thank you. A senior government official tells CBC the special program was for the most marginalized, those who were basically invisible. The formal memo specified Vietnamese applicants must have left Vietnam between 84 and 91 and be residing in Thailand. But our investigation suggests at least 5 people were not those who the government seemed to want to help. according to a senior official connected to the plan. Take once again the case of Vo Van Dung. For someone who should have been fearful of going back to Vietnam, it seems odd he was there running a tour business, not living on the margins. CBC was unable to reach him despite several attempts. Another arrival, Sabe King, ran a jewelry and crafts business. According to his business associate, he lived in Cambodia, though King denied that when we reached him, and claiming when he arrived that his life in Thailand had been very challenging.
It's very difficult and not enough food and not enough education.
We showed all this to Nguyen Thanh, who was involved during negotiations on who the policy should help. When he looks at who ultimately came in, some of those we showed him were not who he expected.
None of those cases would be eligible under this temporary special program.
Many of these people claim they are stranded in Thailand and should have been on Canada's radar. But they allege in this Facebook video that advocacy group Voice put more privileged Vietnamese on the list.
Hello everyone. Hello. Xin chào.
Voice founder Trin Hoy acknowledges his group helped create that list of names, but rejects doing anything wrong.
I did not personally go into each and everyone's life to check. For me, our job was A, to help and advocate for the refugees. Just because someone got resettled here doesn't mean that the person cannot go back to Vietnam and visit his homeland.
But a key official involved with the program refutes that, saying they could not go back for fear of persecution. If they could, I don't think we would have agreed to this policy, he said. And yet the government's own memo didn't spell that out, failing to specify applicants should never have left Thailand.
I was perplexed by the lack of control, internal control by the Canadian government over this special program.
I was actually very encouraged.
If there was a mistake back then, the government now is investigating. We spoke to the immigration minister before the election was called. I want to know what your government is doing to ensure that that special program was not abused.
I think it's important for us to continue to maintain the integrity of our immigration system. We take any allegation of fraud or anything that threatens the integrity of our refugee system or even the larger immigration system very, very seriously.
That was the CBC's David Common reporting. Now, there's one more thing we need to mention. Federal officials would not tell CBC News whether any specific individuals are under investigation, but the case has raised questions about Canada's screening procedures. More news just ahead on The National. Ian is back in 2 minutes with a look at the stories developing around the world tonight. But first, in case you missed it, for the first time in 40 years, female soccer fans in Iran were allowed inside the country's main stadium to watch a FIFA soccer match. Women were largely banned following the 1979 Islamic Revolution. They've fought for change for years, protesting, dressing as men to watch, being detained. After a protester died last month, FIFA intervened.
But we need Iranian women as well to be able to attend the men's game. And we need to push for that.
Today, victory of sorts. A few thousand women were allowed to buy tickets for the World Cup qualifier against Cambodia, but they were segregated. Now the worry, it was a one-time event. I hope it will be repeated, one fan says, because women need to come to the stadium for happiness and to support their team.
Welcome back to the National Newsroom in Vancouver. 2 associates of Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, have been arrested on campaign finance violations.
I don't know those gentlemen. Now, it's possible I have a picture with them because I have a picture with everybody.
The pair was arrested last night trying to board an international flight with one-way tickets. They now face 4 criminal counts in connection with a $325,000 donation to Trump's re-election campaign. They've been subpoenaed to testify before several House committees involved in the impeachment inquiry. The president of Ukraine was on the offensive today, denying any suggestion of blackmail during his July phone call that sparked the U.S. impeachment inquiry.
say didn't give me, they say gave me nothing.
In a marathon set of interviews, the Ukrainian president said he only learned the U.S. military aid was blocked after the call. A U.S. whistleblower has alleged President Trump asked Ukraine to look into the son of his political rival, former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden. An additional 250,000 customers are without power tonight, bringing the total to more than 500,000 in the state of California as major outages blanket the state for a second straight day. The deliberate outage is a drastic attempt by the state's biggest energy provider to try to avoid the killer wildfires of recent years. The outages mainly affect Northern California, including portions of the San Francisco Bay Area, but there's some in Southern California. Numerous colleges and schools were closed due to the shutdowns. And next on The National, that 3-digit number with big implications. It's easier than ever to check your credit score online, but can you trust the number you get? We investigate in 2 minutes.
Car loans, mortgages, you name it, Canadians need credit. And companies are lining up to give you your credit score. But can you trust what you're getting? Marketplace put 4 of them to the test, and Asha Tomlinson has the results.
Back to Vancouver.
Business owner Raman Agarwal is taking a risk to learn the truth about credit scores.
If your credit score is bad, you may be declined for mortgage, you may be declined for any finances you want to do.
That 3-digit number can determine if you get financing and at what rate.
Credit score crew, how you doing?
So Marketplace asked Agarwal and 2 other Canadians to get their scores from 4 different websites: Credit Karma, Borrowell, Equifax, and TransUnion.
762.
762 is very good according to Credit Karma.
The scores they get online
637. Wow. What did I do?
are not the same.
Everybody reports different scores, and it doesn't make sense.
It's an interesting exercise.
So which scores would lenders use? Agarwal brings his numbers to mortgage broker Vince Gaetano.
I wouldn't rely on these. This is a client score. As a mortgage professional, I pull a Beacon score.
The Beacon score is used by most lenders in Canada, but it's kept secret from consumers unless you ask for it. And if you do, it could lower your score.
So why don't we come on in?
Agarwal wanted to take the risk.
Your Beacon score is a lot different than any of those 4 reports you showed me today.
Let me ask you, is it higher or lower?
It's extremely higher. Your credit score is 829.
Oh my God.
That's almost 200 points higher than his lowest number, given out by Canadian company Borrowell. We asked the CEO why.
So there are many different types of credit score in Canada, and they're calculated slightly differently. It is a complicated system, and we're the first to say that it's frustrating for consumers. We didn't build the system. We're trying to help add transparency to it and help consumers navigate it.
That's not good enough for Agarwal.
Whatever your score is, there should be one score.
All 4 companies say the scores they give consumers are used by lenders. But check out the fine print. It says these scores may not actually be used by your lender, and they're for educational use. Asha Tomlinson, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can see more of Asha's investigation on Marketplace tomorrow night at 8:30 in Newfoundland on CBC Television. Next on The National, people in Ottawa just could not believe it. A 3rd day of transit nightmare on the city's new LRT system. We will take you there in our moment. So it's not clear whether this week's showdowns in Gatineau will change the political mood of Canadians, but one thing is for sure, across the river in Ottawa, a showdown with their own transit system has people seeing red. For the 3rd day in a row, Ottawa LRT riders faced major delays right during the commuter crush, and their reaction to this trifecta of frustration is our moment.
I can't believe how bad this is. You know, no warning. You can't even get through there.
Not a fun time, especially 3 mornings in a row. Apparently, today's problem was a computer glitch. Malfunctioning train doors were the problem on Tuesday and Wednesday, all backing up trains for about half an hour each day, which can feel like an eternity during the morning rush.
You just got a sea of people there. And in a situation like that, people don't always use their best manners.
To be fair, the delays have all been on OC Transpo's new Confederation line, which just opened. And while riders try to be philosophical, that is not easy.
It's comical at this point. It's day 3. All I can do is laugh. This is kind of bullcrap.
Rough week for sure. Here is hoping it gets better.
You know, when I look, Adrian, at big infrastructure projects, I'm always often in awe of engineers. Maybe not so much this time. I guess the passengers may have been holding open doors the first 2 days, which may have been the problem. But this time, I think it was a straight-out computer failure, and that does not bode well.
Exactly. I fear, actually, Rosie is currently stuck on a train as we speak. If there's any comfort for people, apparently there are engineers ready to do work overnight and tow trucks at the ready for buses in the morning.
And look, it's not lost on us. We live in a country where we can spend 15 seconds, 30 seconds talking about a train that has delays. Lucky us, but it's got to be frustrating for commuters, that's for sure. That is the National for October the 10th. Good night.
Good night.